the telling of the story of Prehistoric Zoo Season number 1 out of 3, The Raising of the Zoo, episodes number 47 to number 53. Note that not all of the obscure names of various biological classifications of extinct creatures may be pronounced correctly. Episode number 47, 6 minutes and 26 seconds into this episode. Not after some tourists say, "Wow, Flames doesn't hatch Leo, who is a Llibrary, in a pond located in between the middle and southern walkways of the zoo due to how he had done that before he got Longsnout the Sarcosuchus. Despite him having no description, Lliblarodons used to be a genus of pliosaurs, which were actually a form of plesiosaur, so they were aquatic. Their heads were more stretched than normal, however, accounting for 20% of their body length, as they were 6 to 7 meters long, not 25. These carnivores populated the mid to later parts of the Jurassic, when they hunted sharks, Cryptochladus plesiosaurs, huge fish, and ichthyosaurs for food using their foreflippers. Episode number 48. In this episode, which may have occurred on the same day as the previous two happened, Flames of the Crescent Moon did another event at the zoo where he rides Striper the quagga about 2 minutes and 44 seconds in, meaning that he probably had to tame him there at that time by emptying his hand to ride on Striper's back. After what was assumably several attempts of mounting Striper before Flames would have kept getting bucked off onto the ground, she should have been tamed so that way Flames could now put a saddle on them and ride around the enclosure. For some reason his/her white horse mother is still located in the cage there, as opposed to all of the other surrogates that were pigs, cows, or sheep, and were assumably killed for food because of it. On this same day Flames briefly talked with the guards Bill and Fred, who said, "Good day Flames Crescent Moon, it's going normal," meaning that he walked through the front entrance of Fog Creek likely to see it or check on the expansion of the gravel roadways. Episode number 49. Flames gets a new prehistoric creature in this episode, which is a Gastornis terror bird, who he names Seth due to how that was originally going to be and also actually was Luke Mull's name before it was changed. He does this either about 8 seconds or a minute and 38 seconds into the episode, which he also presumably does on the same day as he had gotten Leo, with the episode ending around 29 seconds later. The description for the bird is, Seth of Gastornis, meaning Gaston's bird. Gastornises were one of the 4 species of terror birds, feeding on mostly plants like pumpkins, though it is arguably an omnivore. It lived in marine climates in the Paleocene and Eocene periods. Although not noted in the sign, these 2-meter-tall animals were once thought to be carnivores, despite how the beak did not possess a hook used for hunting. Instead, it was used for cracking open seeds or nuts. The Gastornis inhabited woody areas along with mammals like pantodonts, which they had competition with, that may have even been lethal. Episode number 50. The Ceratosaurus. Meaning horned lizard, Ceratosaurus fed on small herbivores, such as the Dryosaurus. They lived in tropical areas in the Jurassic period, is the description that Flames wrote for Sarah, his Ceratosaurus who he hatches here, whose name is spelled differently than that of the Triceratops. 2 minutes and 8 seconds into the episode is likely when a dinosaur egg has hatched in a cobblestone and grass pen, which was the 9th cage down the row of the area in between the middle and right halls. The 6-meter by 2-meter large dinosaur was notable for both its blowing crests and for their nasal horns, the crestings being the more prominent of those as they were easily noticeable on their heads. These reptilians were extant during the Kimmeridgian era to the Tithonian era, both of which were located in the later part of the Jurassic period, when they protected themselves using a line of scales on their backs that are called osteoderms, possibly when dueling each other during their later growth stages. These brush and shoreline hunters lived at the same time as both the Allosaurus and the Torvosaurus, who ate prey in different niches in open or watery forested areas. Episode number 51. Flames of the Crescent Moon hatches Kingly at this time, who is the first of his Tyrannosaurus rexes, in an enclosure of iron blocks and bars, which is the last one on the northern hall of the zoo, being in the deserted sandy region. The egg is placed down by around 106 seconds after this episode starts, being allegedly on the same day as the previous ones, although Kingsley wasn't born until 258 seconds or so later. The T-Rexes were alive during the Cretaceous period, not during the Jurassic, and despite being called the Tyrant Lizard Kings, were not the largest carnivorous dinosaurs either, as they were only 12 meters long by 3 meters high. These tyrannosaurs did not have very long relative lifespans, however, as shortly after reaching their unequally proportioned maturity they would die, likely before their offspring were even considered to be no longer infants. These tyrannosaurids lived in the Maastrichtian, the last period of the Cretaceous, specifically being an inhabitant of humid and hotter climates alongside other dinosaurs like theropods, Triceratops, and Edmontosauri, some of which it even consumed for food using their hollow bones of quickness. 39 seconds after the dinosaur is born, Flames says "You're Kingsley," with the name being a pun on the translation of his species name, after which he attempts to go to bed thrice but fails because it is during the day, with the episode likely only ending 194 seconds later after he checks in on one of the terror birds. Episode number 52. This episode was likely called The Shearing of Mammoth, for in it the mammoth at Prehistoric Zoo was sheared like a sheep as one of the events for the tourist to watch. Roughly 34 seconds into the episode is when Flames acquires at least 12 pieces of brown wool from her, with the rather short episode ending 39 seconds or so later. In the background, the tourists continued their constant barrage of repeating the phrase "wow" over and over again. Episode number 53. During this episode Flames decides to go ride down the river, which Thog Creek is named after, on a route passing through a nearby disgusting birch forest, so he brings the boat out behind Prehistoric Zoo, where he stands by the dried up portion of it behind his headquarters at 101 seconds in. He follows roughly along the waterway, passing by a random sandstone well in the desert, although by 7 minutes after he starts recording he is traveling down the river with the forest on both sides. Then suddenly, possibly 6 minutes 57 seconds after the beginning of the episode, a structure comes into view, a somewhat square peak ruin that is multiple times the height of the trees. 47-ish seconds after Flames initially sights this building of dark wooden planks, cobwebs, and mossy stone, he disembarks in order to investigate the inside of it, finding that it is so unused that a tree has grown inside of where the front door should have been. Within the next half minute upon entering, he finds that it appears that the build is some sort of decrepit academy filled with furnaces, bookshelves, chests, and even a couple of enchanting tables. Other than the paper, string, pottery shards, a whip, and the Dinopedia contained within the chests, the most notable part of the place is the presence of glowstone being used as lights across the 4 stories, along with netherrack randomly replacing the ancient wood. It may have been that Flames looted the chests while he was there and simply left those objects behind, as they may have originally contained more round pieces of deoxyribonucleic acid for dinosaurs, javelins, a music disc of the song Bones by White Josh Man, volutes remnants, a disc labeled Nano-Tyranno Awakening, amphoras that had been broken, obsidian, ruined calyxes, cobwebs, bones, the skulls of the skeleton monsters, scraps of relics like those that he put in his analyzer, stone tablets depicting scenes such as a mosasaurus giving luck to a ship or a person fighting a statue like those back at his quarters, gold ingots, books, or nuggets of gold. Towards the back of the lowermost floor and between the double stairways is an oval-shaped ring of drums, which Flames pounds at least one of, with them having a similar effect as a bone would on a dinosaur. A majority of the chests are contained in alcoves on either side, with there being a balcony which appeared to have hosted the desks of the place. Above that was the dormitory at the same elevation as part of the roof with an empty attic above it, suggesting that 8 people stayed there very long ago. Flames still has no idea what it was doing there, as nobody seemed to have known of its existence despite it only being less than a kilometer away from Fog Creek, nor why its creators seem to have great knowledge of the types of creatures Flames has at Prehistoric Zoo. At the end of that day, he likely does not return to his home at the zoo but stays on the shores of that shallow lake, with the episode ending around 44 seconds after he completes his exploration of the anomaly.